Okay, first garden tour of 2024. We're a few weeks behind, but this is going to be the first one. So, this is the pink lemonade blueberry. Last year I didn't get anything from it, but this year, this is why I say I'm a little bit behind because the blooms are really pretty. But now we see where the fruits are going to be. So, that's good. We have a dahlia here that I started from seed, and it does have a little bud coming. I have no idea what color it's going to be, so it'll be a surprise. And then this is the other blueberry. So this one was kind of tragic. Last year, I realized that it was planted too deep, so I tried to lift the old plant and replant it taller. And in doing so, I think I killed it. Well, I killed at least 3/4 of it. So this used to be, that big plant, but now only this part survived. So in seeing that, I actually bought another kind of like single sprout of one. I think they're two different types of blueberries, and I just put it in this pot with it. So at least, the whole pot wouldn't be just for that little vine, and I would have two in there. And then we have the fig tree, which is doing fantastic, way ahead of where it was last year at this time. And it just looks really great. It's really filling out, and it never died back this year. I was able to, one, protect it, and two, we didn't have a crazy winter. So typically this would be where I start with bed one, but as we can see, we've expanded, and I feel like that really messes up the order. So this is going to be bed one this year. Right now it's pretty much empty. We do have some sorrel in there, like Jamaican hibiscus plants going. It's 4 of them. And then the rest of this is going to be for sweet potatoes. Inside the house right now I have, I'm working on slips for Japanese sweet potato, regular orange sweet potato, and then a purple sweet potato. And they're all going to go in here and just be kind of chaotic. And then we'll see what we get at the end. And then this bed, what we're going to call bed 2 right now, has a lot in it. So we have a coreopsis here, which I just overhead watered and it wasn't great. So it'll come back. And then we have gomphrena there. We have a cosmos. This is a phlox, or like a false phlox, I think. A zinnia. More cosmos. We have a status. It's bok choy, our little bee guy watching over everything. We have a pin cushion here, and you'll see the bok choy is kind of dotted around everything here. We have another status that is working on its bloom. Then we have more pin cushion, more status, more pin cushion, and bok choy everywhere. And then one kind of setback, we have a African marigold, some Jamaican scallion, African marigold, and then let's actually go this way. We have a Spanish lavender, we have a straw flower right there. We have another gomphrena. This is a purple tomatillo, and this one was amazing because this is my 3rd or 4th year trying to grow tomatillos from seed, and this is the first year that I actually even got a sprout, so I'm very excited about this. This is a castor bean, so like what they would make castor oil for, hair use and all of that comes from that plant. From the label, this plant is supposed to get pretty tall and pretty big, so I kind of dotted it in this bed to also provide some shade later on, but it hasn't really gotten super tall yet. Another gomphrena. This one is an aster china. Another zinnia, and they're all different types of zinnias. I just got lost with the labeling, so they're not labeled. That's a cornflower. I think it's going to be like a pinkish cornflower. This is probably the furthest along of the gomphrena. We have little buds coming out there. We have a pink calendula back there. We have, this should be a chocolate scotch bonnet, but we'll see, because like last year where I had some labeled as chocolate and they came out regular. So it's gonna be just a mystery until we actually get some fruit. There's a hollyhock, another castor bean, more Jamaican scallion, and you'll see that just dotted throughout everything, throughout every bed. This is a serrano pepper, zinnia, a regular Scotch bonnet pepper. It's doing really, really well. Castor bean, and I think it has a little flower coming in right there in the middle. The scallion, another hollyhock, and another cornflower. And that's bed 2. So then we're moving on to the garlics. So these are 3 different types of garlic. This silver white seems to be doing the best. This one is a Sicilian artichoke. And this one, the label is all twisted in there. And this was a red variety. Yeah, like autumn red. So the garlics, I think initially I planted them too deep. Over the winter, I basically got worried, dug them out, lifted them up, and then like recovered them up. And when I went to lift them, I noticed that a lot of them had sprouted, so that was a good sign. And I covered them back up, and then we got some actual like growth on them, so that's good. Bed 3. So this one has a blue sage here. This is the bed that's pretty much covered in mint, and I think it's also going to be covered in callaloo because I let the callaloo go to seed. So it's going to be an experiment bed. But we have blue sage there. We have carrots. There's a little carrot right there. Little carrot guy. And then more carrot. Lots of mint. And we have onions also planted in here. And a Mexican sunflower there with a really nice bud. And then here down the middle, I have potatoes. And these are the red potatoes. I had a really hard time trying to find purple potatoes this year. I went a couple trips, and both times I went, the batches that they had in the store were like rotten. So we're not going to have purple potatoes this year. But these red potatoes are actually from potatoes I grew last year that I still had, and they had sprouted a little bit, so I went ahead and planted them. I have more inside that I need to plant. I'm going to put in a pot. And then in the third part of this row, we have a sunflower back there, a zinnia, a cosmos, another zinnia. This is a mystery plant. I'm not sure what it is, but apparently the roly-polies love it, which they're like my arch nemesis. And then this is another Mexican sunflower. These 2 Mexican sunflowers are actually going to be different colors, which is going to be great. And then this is a Thai basil back there. And I did drop like 4 bean seeds in here, but I haven't seen anything sprout up yet. Then on the inside, we have some watermelon radish right there. And then more onions. And then in bed 4, this is the daikon radish, and it's gone to flower. I really don't think that there's much of a radish in there. Let's see if we can get in and pull one up. I'll pull this guy because he has a very, very much flowered. So let's see. Yeah, that's not really the radish I was going for. I don't know if it's because they're so planted together or what happened, but yep. This is another, I think this one's going to be a pink calendula. There are a couple different types of calendula that I have. That's another little carrot right there. It's a candy stripe. Is it candy stripe? Now, let's see what the tag says. Calliope carrot? Don't know what that is. But that's what that one's going to be. This is another type of radish I got at the Korean grocery store. It was written in Korean, so I don't really know like what the English name for the radish is. But that one's doing fine. That one hasn't bolted at all. It's a smaller radish than a daikon radish. So we'll see how that one goes. Hoping to make some kimchi with it. So it's like, please don't bolt. Please actually grow a root. And then here, so this bed still very much needs to be planted out. But we have an agastache. This one is called Lavender Martini, and it is starting to flower, which is great. Under here we have a marigold, but this is a white marigold, and you'll see how the other versions of this one look. This one was protected by this kale when we had a cool front, which I thought was fine, but apparently, you know, they don't love it. And then we have another cosmos, and all these cosmos are different. It's just the labeling, just like with the zinnias. That is another Scotch bonnet there, and we can see how these roly-polies are my nemesis. And this is the kale that's gone to flower. And the flowers are edible. Pretty much every time I come out here, I'm snacking on those flowers. Then we have another cosmos here. And then we have a jalapeno there. And a zinnia back there. And then we have the cucumbers. There's one. And there's two. This is a different type of cucumber. It starts with an S. I really don't remember the name. I gotta work on my labeling. I have labels, I just need to write them up. And then here I also have a grape. I thought it was dead, but it came back. I think this is the Niagara grape on this side. The Concord was on the other side last year, and that one definitely died. But the Niagara sprouted right back up in the spring. And then this would be bed 4.5, we can call it. So here we have a snapdragon, we have a regular calendula, we have more scallion, we have a strawberry, we have another cosmos, this one getting ready to bloom and has a bud in there. And up here we have a huckleberry. I'm trying that this year. I've never had a huckleberry before, but it looks fun. This is another Scotch bonnet. Here we have a regular bell pepper. This is a chamomile. And then this is the phlox that we saw in the first bed, or second bed. And then another bell pepper, and then another cosmos. Then we come into this bed. We have Cuban oregano or coulis thyme. And then back here we have fever grass or lemongrass. And then this is the kale that's really flowering. Has some volunteer cilantro come up here out of the bed. Way back here we have a caterpillar right there on this calendula. I'll hide him. And then we have another jalapeno, another zinnia. Then here we have rows of Swiss chard on this side, and then the scallion here in the middle. And then another cosmos right there. Then this is the wildflower patch, and my desert willow, which I'm very excited about, has begun leafing out, which was great. I was really nervous, curious on if it made it through the winter, and then it did, so that was great. But back there we can see the pomegranate is doing really well as too. It also didn't die in the winter, which was very helpful this year. I tried to protect it, but the wind very much just blew off the protection I put. So it didn't get as much protection as the fig did, but it still survived the winter, which was fantastic. And then this area in the middle is going to be all perennial flowers. Some of them have made it through the winter, some not so much. Some are sprouting back. So I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of time. I'm going to get in there and weed it. Give it a little bit more time, see what actually does well, get more of those plants so that this whole middle area is kind of a self-sufficient perennial area, whereas the sides are going to be more wildflower, whatever grows, leave it for nature type thing. And then if we come to this bed, like bed 6, first we have some volunteers over here. I'm hoping that these are sunflowers, but we'll see. And then we have a sweet alyssum, which I actually haven't planted this year, but this was from a seed that volunteered from last year. And then we have lots of onions. So this was kind of like the allium bed. Lots of onions in here that I planted in the fall. We have another chamomile hidden under there. And then a lot of cornflowers. We have another straw flower here. A massive leek. Look at this leek. It's so big. We have some stalk flowers, which are also edible. And then strawberries. This is a poppy in the middle. I'm very excited for when that blooms because, I mean, the poppy, the leaves are massive. So I'm really excited for when that blooms. Lots of onions. Some yarrow here, which did what I was hoping it would do and sprouted up over there as well. Like I said, lots of cornflowers. There's a bloom. And hidden under all of this also is a blackberry plant, an ebony blackberry plant under there. And more strawberries under there as well, with like actual, it's like if we can get around all the onions, we can see the actual strawberry under there. With, of course, a roly-poly on it. Really dislike the roly-polies. And then we have gifts tomatoes. So I have no idea what type they are. I'm assuming that it's going to be an indeterminate, so that's why I put it on the trellis. And then next to it, I also have peas, snap peas that are supposed to climb up the trellis, but are actually outside the trellis right now, so I'll have to work on that. And there are more tomatoes. There are about 4 tomatoes on this trellis, on this side of the trellis, and with peas in between each one. In this middle row, we have more cornflowers. And then on this side are more tomatoes. These are, I think, the cherry red tomatoes. So they're also an indeterminate, but small cherry tomatoes. This is the Korean mint, which is another form of agastache, I believe. This is the coreopsis again. It's a white coreopsis, just like in that first bed. And there's also a sweet pea. There's one right down there, right there. And then there's another one over there. So the sweet peas, they're for the flowers. They're poisonous to eat. The peas on the other side are edible, snap peas. And then here we have the aster china again. And this one's also kind of a, I'm not gonna say a nemesis plant, but it took me like 2-3 years before I finally got a sprout. So I'm very excited about these two. This is another calendula. These are snapdragons that overwintered. It's great, and they just started blooming. There's one down here too. Like, let's not forget about him. And then here I have some chives in a pot. I need to figure out where I'm gonna plant it. Another huckleberry, another gomphrena with a bud on it. More cosmos. This is the other version of the white marigold. Not a version, but I think because it was hit with the cold, it kind of turned the leaves bronze. It was very weird, but the one that was protected by the kale was fine. This is a volunteer zinnia. Just came up on its own. I'm gonna let it do its thing there. And yes, it is a red cherry tomato. One of the few things that are labeled. And then in this bed, we have more of that white marigold, a mystery. Don't know how long I'm gonna let it go before I pull it. This was the lavender martini agastache again. It's kind of budding out there. More of that white coreopsis. This was another snapdragon that just made it through, survived the winter. This is that mystery plant again, just a bigger version. And it is starting to kind of come together like it might bud. So hopefully soon we figure out what it is. This is a dahlia from last year. Came back very strong. We have more stalk here. It's a different color. more of the scallion. Like I said, it's in every bed, all over every bed. This is another chamomile, another calendula, more stalk. That's that white marigold again, but you can really see the damage of the leaves from, I'm guessing it was from the cold. This is the Italian dandelion that just came back on its own. I did not expect it to because it flowered and everything, but yeah, came right back. And then these are golden tomatoes, which are a determinate tomato right here in the middle. We have a climbing rose, which comes all the way up. And my plan is just to tie it into the post, have it go up, and then split directions and go on either side. Then we have another pincushion here, another honey huckleberry, not honeysuckle, huckleberry here, and another volunteer cilantro, which is about to go to seed. It's bolting right now. And what is really funny about the Italian dandelion, one, I didn't think it was going to come back. It flowered and everything, but it somehow landed over here all in like a perfect row. So I thought that was pretty funny. This is kind of the iris bed slash herbs. So lots of irises. We have thyme down here. This is a sedum that I didn't actually think was going to make it, but it's alive. I put another chamomile in there just to try and get something to grow in this cute statue. And then lots of oregano. The oregano has done very, very well in here. And then more irises, just waiting for them to bud and bloom. And some more chamomile. I just had extra chamomile plants that I put in here as well. There's another one back there. And that's the first garden tour of 2024.